With me now is Jena Griswold, Colorado's Secretary of State. She's also the Democratic nominee to be Colorado's next Attorney General in the race there. It's good to see you. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
You want to just react quickly to what we heard from Markwayne Mullin?
I think it's beyond unfortunate, and this is not the first time that Trump's administration has threatened election officials. Just the week before, so about 2 weeks ago, all chief election officials in all 50 states received a letter from the DOJ threatening prosecution also. So they are really using any tool to try to undermine elections, intimidate officials. But I will tell you, they have to go to these lengths because their attacks, their efforts to undermine the 26 elections are not working. They are not working. So they're growing more extreme, and we're going to continue to hold the line.
In Colorado, you're one of around, I think, 30 states that the Justice Department has sued for these confidential voter rolls and all that information. And you've been very outspoken about your view about all this, that the administration has been adversarial about elections and election administration rather than a partner. Do you really think that you could end up in jail?
Well, I think I truly believe that the DOJ and other actors are making real threats. I also think that the courts are working, especially on elections. We're seeing a lot of their attempts, whether it's suing me and other states to try to get the sensitive voter data or Trump's unlawful executive orders on elections. Mm-hmm. We're seeing the courts work. So at the end of the day, I am not going to bend to intimidation, and election officials across the country, Democratic secretaries of state, local election officials are holding the line. And I think one of the big pieces of irony to call out in this whole situation is that it is Donald Trump himself who has made our elections less secure. He took office for the second time. One of his first acts is pardoning the insurrectionists. Then he disbands the Department of Homeland Security's work and the DOJ's work on foreign interference and foreign disinformation. He fires the people that states used to partner with on cybersecurity and physical security. Donald Trump is the threat to our democracy. He is. In their threats, their intimidation is not going to stop me from doing what's right.
Let's put up the image of the loyalists that Donald Trump has surrounded himself with, because the cabinet looks very different in this second term. On the left, 2020, you see people that at different times, at least some of them spoke out, contradicting what the conspiracy theories that Donald Trump was putting forward. On the right, no dice. How do you think that is impacting the actions that the president is taking surrounding the election system in particular, and also, the decision to pursue this voter suppression legislation, the SAVE Act, that he's pushing for just absolutely relentlessly?
It definitely emboldens him. There's no consequence on the right to his unhinged behavior. Using a presidential address to push out conspiracy theories to the nation, weaponizing the federal government against democracy. But I do think, I don't want to undercut how risky it is to have election deniers in all these key positions in the federal government. But I do really want to highlight for your audience that state governments are working. The courts, when it comes to elections, are largely working. So this is not a time to give up hope. It's to realize that there is a tremendous risk to our basic foundations of democracy, to the rule of law, and really lean in. And that's what we're seeing. I'm running for Attorney General because I fundamentally believe in the power of holding these guys accountable in the courts. Americans need to stay engaged. They need to show up to the protests, show up, engage, talk to their neighbors, show up to vote. And we just have to beat these guys in the 26 elections. And by these guys, I don't mean Republicans. I mean election deniers. I mean corrupt politicians. I mean people who are more interested in supporting the billionaire class than giving any type of care for the American people. So I think people are fired up, both in office, and the American people are fired up. It is a dangerous time, but I am confident we're going to get through it.
I'm sure that you watched the Todd Blanche, the Senate Judiciary Committee hearing for his confirmation this week. And, his approach to the Department of Justice seems noticeably, maybe as charitable, different than former Attorney General Bill Barr. I want to play a clip where we put the two of them back to back and get your reaction on the other side.
I repeatedly told the president in no uncertain terms that I did not see evidence of fraud. I made it clear I did not agree with the idea of saying the election was stolen and putting out this stuff, which I told the president was bull.
Today, a grand jury sitting in the Eastern District of North Carolina returned an indictment against James Comey on 2 counts.
I love working for President Trump.
I love you, sir.
I love you, sir. Gross. Sorry. What are your thoughts?
Gosh, I don't disagree with you. I just think it's just the DOJ is supposed to be an independent body. And we did see the former attorney general, perhaps a little late to the game, but finally arriving and saying there was no evidence of widespread voter fraud. And he also told us that President Trump himself knew that he lost the 2020 election. Trump doesn't like the truth. He is obsessed about the fact that he lost in 2020. We are living through a history of a sore loser, a man who cannot accept defeat, even when he is the president of the United States. And he has put loyalists all around him. But again, I just fundamentally will underscore states run elections, not Donald Trump, not the DOJ, not the federal government. And very luckily, there are brave people in Secretary of State seats and battleground states, brave Democrats. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's tough being in these positions. I've received over 3,500 physical threats or death threats since 2021. 4 men have been arrested for threatening my life. The last one was arrested when I was in the hospital giving birth. I'm not backing down. There are strong people all across this country who are not trying to tilt elections one way or the other for a political party. They believe in democracy. They believe in rule of law. And those are the people who are going to fight day in and day out to make sure we have great elections in 26. 26, folks are really worried about the election day. It is already under attack. The DOJ suing many states for sensitive voter data. Trump now having issued already 2 unlawful executive orders. Threats coming out from the DOJ, threats to election officials from the Department of Homeland Security. And we are holding strong every single day to make sure that every Republican, Democrat, and unaffiliated voter can have their voice heard in free and fair elections in November.
Well, let me just say it's abhorrent, the type of attacks that you and other election officials have faced, and so cowardly, on the part of the perpetrators. You, too, have had to deal with directly high-profile cases of election deniers and people pushing back on the integrity of the system, including that high-profile case of the Mesa County clerk, Tina Peters, who, to remind everybody, breached her own county's voting machines in 2021 and tried to prove the big lie that Donald Trump was telling. And now that the federal government is installing appointees with ties to that same election denial movement. Tina Peters, of course, had her sentence commuted by the governor there, Jared Polis, controversially. You have spoken out against that. How do you look at this big picture? The Fox running the henhouse at the federal level, people on the local level who were involved in this, now somehow, being vindicated or at least being given the gift of an air of vindication. How do you protect state and local election infrastructure given all of that happening?
I truly believe 26 will determine the future of this country. Do the American people, are they emboldened to show up and vote to protect the rule of law and democracy? With the commutation of Tina Peters, she compromised her own voting equipment back in 2021. We discovered it. It took many steps to make sure she faced accountability. She was prosecuted by a Republican district attorney, sentenced to 9 years of incarceration. And then Trump catches wind. She was the last person facing accountability for attacking American elections. We believe in the entire country. And Trump is so obsessed about 2020 that he really wanted her out of prison. So he started to retaliate against the state of Colorado. And I believe that eventually our Democratic governor gave in and released Tina Peters early, gave her special treatment. And it's an abhorrent decision, selling out the state's judicial system because of Trump's hurt feelings and his diminished ego. It's a horrible precedent, telling people who would break the law for Donald Trump that they will get off if they're charged federally, and they may just get off if they're charged under state courts. So a horrible decision. But I think the big picture is that our elections work in Colorado. We caught Tina Peters. We caught what she was what she was doing. And then I worked with our legislature to make our laws even tighter. Tighter for would-be Tina Peters, tighter for would-be federal interference. And again, this is a time going into November where we just need everybody engaged. Election officials, we cannot do it ourselves. Elected officials cannot do it ourselves. The American people need to stay in this fight. They don't need to track every lunacy coming from the White House every day to know that this country is not on the right track. And we need people of good conscience to be leaning in, making sure that you're caring for your neighbors and making sure that you have a plan to vote in November.
Jena Griswold, Colorado Secretary of State, who recently won the Democratic primary for the Colorado Attorney General position. It's great to see you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.